All right. Hey there, Jim Hart back at you here today, and I thought I would do something a little crazy today. I thought I would go ahead and record my podcast for the week for the Legal Jim podcast, if you've never checked that out, and actually record it here live on YouTube, which I've never done before, but I figured, why the heck? Why the heck not? This sounds like a good idea. So let me go ahead, and I just need to turn on my podcast here. Need to hit record. I'm not sure how to do that. We'll figure it out. Everything's like covered up by my other screen. Let's see. Okay. Sorry about this. That's not working. All right, we're just gonna have to take the recording directly from this, and we'll go with that. So that'll just have to work. Okay, so today's show, this should be fun. And if you're going to leave comments, just keep in mind I'm recording this for the podcast, so I'm not going to be responding to a lot of comments here today. I might take some questions at the end, but that's kind of the plan for today's episode. So let's go ahead and get started here. And again, all this stuff I'm using Ecamm, and it's got all these things that are blocking my screen. Okay, we got it now. All right, let's get this rocking. And I'm just gonna check one more thing. I'm not even sure I'm live. I think I am. Why is Adobe not hardware? Okay, it should be working now, but it's not working. I might have to just restart this over. I apologize. It's really more of a test than anything else. Oh, I know what's going on. Okay. Now it should be working. Oh, now it's working. Good. All right. Let's go ahead and get this party started, shall we? Hopefully there won't be too many noises from the other room. The dogs are at the kennel, so we should be good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start the recording now. All right, well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Legal Jim podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we're going to be talking about why you should or shouldn't hire legal help for your trademark application. And for the show notes for today's episode, which will include all of the links and resources to everything I'm going to be discussing today, make sure you head on over to hawthornlaw.net/expert. That's hawthornlaw.net/expert. I'm getting away from the numbers for the episodes because I've got a lot of episodes that I've been publishing that don't really fall into the numbers category so well. So I'm just going into words. So hawthornlaw.net/expert, where you find all of the links and resources to everything I'm talking about today. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. So what I want to talk to you about today is, over the weekend, I had a long weekend where we flew here from Lisbon. We flew to the Azores Islands. And for those of you that are not sure what I'm talking about, in America, they're typically referred to as the Azores, but here in Portugal, they call them the Azores Mountains, or Azores Islands. These are a string of islands that are in the North Atlantic Ocean, and they're about 1,000 miles from Portugal, from Europe, and they're about 2,400 miles from North America. So they're kind of like right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. They're very isolated. They're far away from everything, and but they're beautiful. And they were formed as a result of volcanic activity because they're right on the plate between Europe and North America. And so there is a lot of volcanic activity there. There's a lot of seismic activity there. There's still some active volcanoes on the island. And there's actually 9 islands. Now for this trip, it's about a 2-hour flight from Portugal. We were on one island in particular that's called São Miguel. And so we flew in on Thursday morning, and we spent the day there Thursday, spent the day there Friday and Saturday, and then we flew back yesterday afternoon. Now, where am I going with this story? You might be wondering. I'm just giving you a little bit of background about where we were. So this is where we were. So we flew out there. It's very isolated, and there's only about, on the island that we were on, São Miguel, there's about 140,000 people. Just to give you a sense, there's about 120,000 cows on the island. Cows are everywhere. Anytime you're driving someplace, you look off to the side, there's a group of cows. Like they're everywhere. A lot of tractors in the road that are blocking traffic, going slow, more than I ever saw when I lived in North Carolina. So it's a very remote place. There's the people there it's a very slow lifestyle, and the people are pretty chill. They speak Portuguese, but their accent is completely different. So a lot of times the things that I was saying to them in Portuguese that people here in Lisbon would understand without a problem, they didn't understand what I was saying. And so it was kind of tricky and fun that way. Anyway, so where am I going with this? So we flew in Thursday, and my wife had kind of an itinerary of things that she wanted to do, but she had a list of places that we could eat. She had a list of activities to do, and we rented a car because there's actually, I've never, since Uber started, I don't think I've ever been to a place where there was no Uber at all, like nothing. Like you cannot get an Uber even if you wanted one. And so there were no Ubers there. And so you have to rent a car. So we rented a car, and we found our hotel. By Portuguese standards, the traffic was not bad at all, which I loved because it's been hectic here driving in Lisbon. Anyway, so we went out, and that first day on Thursday, we went to, I think, a restaurant, and we went to a couple places to visit. I can't remember exactly what we did on Thursday. But we saw some things. But we were pretty exhausted from getting up really, really early in the morning, and then flying from Lisbon there. We actually went back an hour, and so it was a longer day than normal. So by mid-afternoon, we were all pretty zonked. But then Friday we got up, and we had some things we wanted to do. Now the island is kind of it's flat, and so it goes long ways from like west to east. It's not like a tall island, it's more wide. And so we spent the majority of Friday on the eastern side of the island seeing, we went to a town called Furnace, which is ironic because it's called Furnace, I assume, because it's right in the middle of a caldera from one of the volcanoes there, and so there's a lot of seismic activity there. We went to some hot springs. We saw some various things there and walked around. But my wife was a little disappointed because we didn't get to see everything that we really wanted to see, and we didn't really get to learn a lot about the area because we were doing it all on our own and just driving. And it was annoying for me as a driver of the rental car because we didn't know where to stop, we didn't know where to park, we didn't know what the good overlooks would be to see a lot of the sights. And so while we did see a lot of things, it was still a very, it wasn't the experience that we really wanted. And so when we got back on Friday night, I made an executive decision. I said, you know what, we're going to hire a local guide for Saturday. And so I looked online on TripAdvisor, and I looked through a couple companies that offered, local tourist services, and I found somebody. It wasn't terribly expensive for what he gave us ultimately, who picked us up promptly at 9 a.m. the next day, and we booked an 8-hour tour. And he had the other thing I should mention is they told us when we rented the car not to go off-road, and I was like, okay, well, I have no intention of going off-road, but thanks for letting me know. I now know why they said that, because there's a lot of mountains, and a lot of the mountains are dirt roads with lots of potholes, lots of mud, lots of places where you can get stuck or like slide off the mountain, and not places I would want to take the small little rental car that we booked. So anyway, so Saturday we get up, and the name of the gentleman was Delphin. I think I might be pronouncing that wrong. It's like Dolphin, but he was Delphin. Delphin was his name. And very nice, spoke perfect English. I mean, pretty good English. And and he picked us up in his Toyota 4Runner, and so it fit our whole family in there, and within 5 minutes we're like off-roading it through this time the western side of the island, so the side of the island that we did not see the day before. And what he ended up doing is, not only did he listened to our needs. We're vegetarians, so he booked a lunch reservation for us at a restaurant that was not vegetarian, but served a lot of vegetarian food that we could eat, and which was rare on the islands. This is a meat-eating island no doubt. Like that is, people eat cow and goats and anything with meat. That's what they eat there on this island. So for vegetarians, not a great choice, but it was still cool to see everything. And he booked a lunch for us. Within 5 minutes, we're off-roading, we're stopping, we're seeing sights. He's having us eat wildflowers. It was just a completely different experience, and we spent about 7.5, 8 hours with him that day. And he drove us to places we never would have seen had we attempted to drive on our own and look at these places on our own. He showed us sights, and he showed us all like the best photo ops that we never would have seen had we done it on our own, and really gave us a great experience. And by the end of the day, our kids were exhausted, we were exhausted. He made reservations for us at a really nice place to go see for dinner. He took us to a pineapple plantation, one of the only ones that served actual pineapple while you were there, which you'd think that most of them would do, but evidently they don't. And so he knew exactly where to go, and it was great. And I didn't have to worry about stressing out about driving in an area where I didn't know where I was, and I was afraid of getting lost. I didn't have to worry about any of that. And he took care of everything for us, and it was just fabulous. So what does this have to do with legal stuff, you might be wondering? And what this has to do with legal stuff is when you are thinking about embarking on a business, and one of the first things that we really suggest you should be doing when you embark on your first business venture is thinking about your name and thinking about your brand and thinking about what name do you want to become known for in the marketplace. And a lot of people think, well, I can just go ahead and apply for a trademark on my own. I've said before in other videos and other podcasts, the trademark application process, it's deceptively simple. Most people don't realize just how difficult it can be. And so when it's just like us, when we got to this island, we thought, how hard can it be for us just to drive around? We've got a rental car, we can see whatever we want to see, we can do whatever we want to do. But between getting lost, getting stuck, car breaking down, not being able to get into the restaurant because you actually couldn't talk to the people there in Portuguese, but this guy could, waiting for things like that. He made reservations and everything. The process when you're filing a trademark application can be extremely confusing. If you don't know what you're doing. If you mess it up, you're going to lose time and money. In our case, if we messed up this vacation and did not see what we wanted on Saturday, we lose all that time and the money we spent going out there to visit this island and see everything that we saw. And in the long run, when you try to do your legal on your own and you try to handle like your trademark application, for example, on your own, it's going to cost you more in the long run to fix it if you mess it up. Because filing a trademark application incorrectly can actually cost you, it can result in delays or even a rejection of your application. And if that happens, the process right now is taking about 12 months to register a trademark, and that's if you don't have any hiccups along the way. But if you do, what do you do in that situation? A trademark lawyer can help you to avoid those mistakes and help smooth the process so it goes very seamlessly for you and ensure that your application not only is properly filed, but also increase the likelihood that you're going to have a successful registration. And so that's kind of what I wanted to share with you today. So I realized there was kind of an analogy to this trip I had, over the weekend to these beautiful islands. And I might add, if you ever get a chance to head out to the Azores Islands, they are beautiful. You could probably spend about a week there. between the different islands, and they actually have flights that go from island to island. You can also take a ferry from island to island if you really wanted to. So, but that's what I have to share with you today. So if you're thinking about starting a brand, you're thinking about starting a business, and you're debating whether or not you should go about it on your own to file your trademark application or hire a lawyer, I would suggest think about strongly hiring a lawyer to help you, just because in the long run, it's going to be easier for you and less costly and probably faster as well. So, all right, all you Legal Gym listeners, now that you know more about the pros and cons of hiring a lawyer to help you with your application, and also the pros and cons of visiting the Azores Islands in the North Atlantic, you are ready to implement, because if there's one thing we love to do over here at the Legal Gym, it is to take massive action. So if you haven't already, make sure you check out the show notes page for today's episode. I'll include some links and resources of everything we talked about today, as well as some images of our trip to the Azores Islands. And just go ahead, you can visit hawthornlaw.net/expert. That's hawthornlaw.net/expert. And that's going to be, like I said, the home base for all of your legal and business tools and resources to help you start, build, and of course, legally protect your online business with a federal trademark. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Take care, folks. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the recording, and I will take some Q&A if there's anybody on here. Let's see. Let me go back. If I can figure out how to get to this. Okay, we got some people here. Let's see, where's the chat? Nope. Chat. Okay. Got one from Hey Man. Let's see. Should the terms of service or a company privacy policy, I assume that's what you mean, be drafted by an attorney? I don't think it necessarily has to be drafted by an attorney. Those are two things that you probably could do on your own with an online template. And here's a link to my template store. I'll put it right here. There, I just go ahead. There's my link to my legal template store. Wild Bill Up One says, shall I hire a lawyer before the contract? I'm not sure what you mean by hire a lawyer before the contract. I don't know what you mean by that, Wild Bill. Let's see. I really in this format, so this is a little bit different than something I normally would do, and but I thought I would try this out. Let's see. Any other questions people might have? All right, I am going to go ahead and end the recording for today. I hope you have a great day. If you got any other questions, feel free to leave a comment below the video. I'll try and answer them at a later time. And hopefully you could hear me okay today. I realize I had the microphone a little bit far from my face, but hopefully that did not cause any problems. So talk soon. Have a great week. Happy Monday, and we'll see you next time.